Setting the scene 125 words. The neon sign of Joe's Diner buzzed softly in the early morning haze of Los Angeles, its warm glow a beacon for early risers and night shift workers heading home. Inside, the aroma of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air, mixing with the familiar sounds of clinking plates and murmured conversations. Chrome fixtures gleamed under fluorescent lights, while worn vinyl booths told stories of countless meals and memories shared within these walls. The checkered floor, though faded, was spotless, a testament to the pride taken in this modest establishment tucked away in a quiet corner of the city of dreams. Introducing Sarah Johnson, 125 words. Behind the counter, Sarah Johnson refilled the coffee pot for the third time since her shift began at 5 a.m. At 32, her dark skin still glowed with youth, though faint circles under her eyes hinted at countless nights spent studying after double shifts. Her name tag, polished daily, caught the morning light as she moved with the practiced grace of someone who had mastered the art of navigating crowded spaces with loaded trays and steaming coffee. Establishing daily struggles, 125 words. As she served her regular customers, Sarah's nursing textbook peeked out from beneath the counter, a constant reminder of the dream she was chasing. The weight of unpaid tuition bills pressed heavily on her mind, matching the weight of her loaded serving tray. Between caring for her 10-year-old daughter Maya, working double shifts, and studying for her nursing degree, every day was a careful balancing act. But Sarah held onto her smile, the same way she held onto her dreams, with unwavering determination. Building anticipation, 125 words. The morning rush was starting to slow when Marie, her fellow waitress, burst through the kitchen doors with wide eyes. "Sarah, you won't believe who just pulled up outside," she whispered excitedly, gesturing toward the window. A sleek black car had parked in front of the diner, its tinted windows concealing the passenger within. Sarah's heart quickened as she straightened her apron and tucked away a stray curl. Something about this moment felt different, like the universe was about to shift, even if just slightly. As the car door opened, the early morning sun caught the edge of a familiar silhouette, and the entire diner seemed to hold its breath. Sarah's background and relationship with Maya, 250 words. Sarah's journey to Joe's Diner began long before she first tied on her apron 3 years ago. Raised by her grandmother in South Central Los Angeles, she grew up watching medical dramas and dreaming of wearing scrubs instead of a waitress uniform. Her grandmother, a retired nurse's aide, had planted the seeds of that dream, telling young Sarah stories of lives saved and hearts healed. Now, as a single mother, Sarah saw those same dreams reflected in her daughter Maya's eyes. Their small apartment might lack luxury, but it was rich with love and determination. Every morning, before her 5 a.m. shift, Sarah would pack Maya's lunch, tucking in little notes with drawings of nurses and doctors, reminding her daughter that dreams take time but are worth the wait. Their evening routine was a delicate dance homework at the corner booth during Sarah's dinner break, then quick meals between pages of biology textbooks. "Mummy, when you become a nurse, can I come see where you work?" Maya would ask, her brown eyes shining with pride as she helped Sarah study by holding up handmade flashcards. These moments made every exhausting day worthwhile. Dedication to work and education, 200 words. Between tables, Sarah stole moments to study, her textbook propped discreetly beneath the counter. Regular customers had grown accustomed to seeing her mouthing medical terms while refilling coffee cups, and some even tested her knowledge during quiet moments. Her tip notebook doubled as a study guide, margins filled with abbreviated notes about anatomy and physiology. At the local community college, her professors marveled at her dedication. Despite occasionally nodding off during early morning lectures after night shifts, her assignments were always immaculate, her questions thoughtful. She had earned their respect not just through her academic performance, but through her unwavering persistence in the face of exhaustion, financial struggles, and sacrifices, 175 words. Each month was a careful juggling act of bills and expenses. Rent for their modest apartment consumed half her wages, while tuition payments claimed most of what remained. Sarah kept a detailed budget in a worn notebook, tracking every penny. Simple pleasures became luxury items, new clothes were thrift store finds, dinner out was a rare treat, and Maya's birthday parties were creative homemade celebrations. The sacrifice that weighed heaviest was time moments missed at Maya's school events. Bedtime stories cut short by exhaustion, weekends spent studying instead of playing. But Sarah refused to let her daughter see these as sacrifices, instead framing them as investments in their future. Co-workers' perspectives and workplace dynamics, 175 words. At Joe's Diner, Sarah's co-workers had become a second family. Marie, the veteran waitress who'd taken Sarah under her wing, often slipped Maya cookies and covered Sarah's section when exams loomed. The cook, Tony, saved leftovers for them on tight weeks, claiming they were just going to waste anyway. The staff watched Sarah's journey with a mixture of admiration and protective concern. They celebrated her good grades, consoled her after difficult tests, and collectively pitched in when her old textbooks needed replacing. Even Joe himself, a gruff man of few words, had been known to adjust her schedule around exam dates without being asked. "That girl's got more grit than anyone I've ever met," Marie would tell new hires, nodding towards Sarah as she juggled plates while reciting muscle groups under her breath. "Mark my words, she's going places and we're all going to say we knew her when Clint Eastwood's unexpected arrival, 250 words. The bell above the diner door chimed softly as he entered, and the morning chatter instantly hushed. Clint Eastwood stood in the doorway, his tall frame silhouetted against the morning sun. He wore no disguise, no attempt to hide his identity, just a simple leather jacket, well-worn jeans, and his signature squint that had captured audiences for decades. The legendary actor moved with the same deliberate grace that had defined his on-screen presence, choosing a quiet booth near the window. A few patrons tried to hide their stares behind menus and coffee cups, while others openly gaped. But there was something remarkably ordinary about how he settled into the vinyl seat, removing his hat and placing it carefully on the table beside him. Marie, who had been wiping down the counter, nearly dropped her cloth. "Sarah," she whispered urgently, her voice barely containing her excitement. "Table 4, it's really him." Sarah turned, her heart skipping a beat as she recognized the iconic profile. For a moment, she was transported back to Sunday afternoons watching westerns with her grandmother, who had been his biggest fan. Sarah's professional demeanor, 250 words. Taking a deep breath, Sarah smoothed her apron and gathered her composure. Celebrity or not, he was a customer who had come for breakfast, and she would treat him with the same respectful professionalism she showed everyone who walked through Joe's doors. Her hands trembled slightly as she grabbed a fresh coffee pot and menu, but her voice was steady when she approached his table. "Good morning, sir. Welcome to Joe's," she said, her smile genuine but not overeager. "Would you like to start with some coffee while you look at the menu?" Eastwood looked up, his weathered features softening into a gentle smile that reached his eyes. "Coffee would be perfect. Thank you," he replied, his familiar gravelly voice somehow warmer in person. Sarah poured his coffee with practiced precision, noting how he watched the stream of dark liquid fill the cup with unexpected interest. Their initial interaction and conversation, 250 words. "Our special today is the Western omelette," Sarah said, then added with a hint of playful courage, "though I imagine you might have seen enough Westerns for one lifetime." A low chuckle rumbled from his chest, genuine amusement crinkling the corners of his eyes. "Never too many Westerns, ma'am, or good omelettes, for that matter. I'll take the special extra hot sauce if you've got it." As Sarah jotted down his order, she noticed how he seemed to take in every detail of the diner, the worn spots on the counter, the faded photographs on the walls, the regular customers going about their morning routines. He showed no impatience, no star's ego, just a quiet appreciation for the simple authenticity of the place. "Been working here long?" he asked as she refilled his coffee, the question carrying genuine interest rather than mere politeness. 3 years, Sarah replied. "Helps pay for nursing school." Nursing school, his eyebrows raised slightly. "That's not easy, especially while working full-time." Observable details about his character and behavior, 250 words. Throughout his meal, Sarah noticed the small details that spoke volumes about his character. He said thank you each time she refilled his coffee, made eye contact when speaking, and seemed to truly listen to her brief responses to his questions. Unlike some celebrities she'd served who treated the diner as beneath them, he appeared completely at ease in the modest surroundings. His movements were measured and deliberate, from the way he folded his napkin to how he arranged his utensils. When a young busboy accidentally dropped a stack of plates nearby, Eastwood didn't flinch or show annoyance. Instead, he stood up to help gather the scattered pieces, waving away the boy's stammered apologies with a kind smile. Sarah also noticed how he positioned himself in the booth, angled slightly so he could see both the door and the entire diner, a habit perhaps carried over from decades of Western roles. Yet there was nothing tense or guarded about his presence. He emanated a calm that seemed to affect everyone around him, transforming what could have been an awkward celebrity sighting into something almost ordinary, yet somehow extraordinary in its simplicity. Sarah's internal monologue, 250 words. As Sarah moved between tables, her mind raced beneath her calm exterior. Here was Clint Eastwood, her grandmother's favorite actor, sitting in her section at Joe's Diner. Her grandmother would have loved this moment. She'd spent countless Sundays telling young Sarah about how Eastwood had worked odd jobs before making it big, just like they were doing. Everyone's got to start somewhere, she used to say. The irony wasn't lost on Sarah. Here she was, serving breakfast to a Hollywood legend, while her own dreams seemed to hover just out of reach. Each time she approached his table, her textbook beneath the counter seemed to call out to her, reminding her of the upcoming tuition payment she wasn't sure how to make. She wondered if he could see it in her eyes, the weight of ambition wrestling with reality. Moments of connection, 200 words. Throughout his meal, small moments of understanding passed between them. When Sarah mentioned nursing school, something in his expression shifted, a flash of recognition, perhaps remembering his own journey. He asked about her classes with genuine interest, nodding thoughtfully as she described her fascination with emergency medicine. During a quiet moment, he noticed her discreetly adjusting a textbook under the counter. Instead of ignoring it, he smiled and said, "You know, I used to read scripts between digging swimming pools. Sometimes the hardest paths lead to the best destinations." The simple acknowledgement of her struggle, coming from someone who had climbed his own mountain of obstacles, made her chest tighten with emotion. Mounting bills, 175 words. In her pocket, Sarah could feel the weight of her phone, which had buzzed earlier with another reminder about her overdue tuition payment. The semester's deadline was looming, and her savings were still painfully short. The morning's tips had been decent, but nowhere near what she needed to close the gap. Between serving Eastwood and her other tables, she mentally recalculated her budget for the 100th time. Maybe she could pick up extra night shifts, though that would mean less time for studying. The electric bill could wait another week, but the nursing program wouldn't. They'd already given her one extension. Maya's school needs 175 words. Just before the morning rush, Maya had called from school, her voice small but trying to be brave. "Mom, remember that science camp field trip next month? The one where we get to learn about being doctors?" Sarah's heart had clenched. Another expense she couldn't afford. The permission slip in Maya's backpack might as well have been a brick, weighing down her daughter's dreams along with her own. The look on Eastwood's face when she returned to refill his coffee made Sarah wonder if he had overheard her whispered phone conversation in the hallway. There was something in his eyes, not pity, but something deeper, more understanding. She straightened her shoulders, pushing back tears. She'd figure something out, she always did. But for now, she had customers to serve and dreams to keep alive, one coffee refill at a time. Eastwood's departure, 150 words. As the morning light strengthened outside, Clint Eastwood finished the last sip of his coffee and carefully dabbed his mouth with the napkin. Sarah approached with the check, but something in his demeanor had shifted. There was an intentionality to his movements that hadn't been there before. Standing up, he placed his hat back on his head with that familiar gesture millions had seen in his films. But instead of simply leaving cash on the table as most customers did, he reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew something else, a folded piece of paper. With the same steady hands that had made him a legend, he pressed it into Sarah's palm. "You might want to read this when you have a moment," he said quietly, his eyes holding hers for a meaningful second. Then, with a slight nod, he turned and walked toward the door. Discovery of the note, 150 words. Sarah stood frozen, the paper warm in her hand, watching as his car pulled away from the curb. The diner's usual morning clatter seemed distant, muffled by the sound of her own heartbeat. With slightly trembling fingers, she unfolded the note and something fluttered to the floor. She bent to pick it up, and the world seemed to stop. It was a check, made out to her name, for an amount that made her vision blur, $25,000, but it was the handwritten note accompanying it that truly took her breath away. Initial reaction 150 words. Her eyes scanned the words once, twice, 3 times, unable to fully process what she was reading. I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Your dedication to your daughter and your dreams reminds me of my own mother. She worked as a waitress too, supporting our family while holding on to her hopes for something more. This is for Maya's field trip, your tuition. And whatever else you need to keep pushing forward. The world needs more nurses like you're going to be. Keep going, Clint. The paper trembled in her hands as the full impact of what she was holding began to sink in. This wasn't just money, it was permission to dream bigger, to breathe easier, to hope. Emotional impact 150 words. The tears came suddenly and without warning, streaming down her face as her legs weakened beneath her. Marie rushed over, alarmed by her friend's state, and Sarah wordlessly handed her the note. Soon, the entire staff had gathered around, and there wasn't a dry eye in the diner. The regular customers, many of whom had watched Sarah study between serving their meals for years, began to applaud spontaneously. The sound seemed to wrap around her like a warm embrace, mixing with her tears of relief and joy. In that moment, the weight of countless sleepless nights, missed school events, and careful budgeting lifted from her shoulders, replaced by something lighter, something that felt remarkably like hope. Contents of the note revealed 250 words. The note was written in a steady, masculine hand, each word carefully chosen and deliberately placed on the paper. Dear Sarah, I've lived long enough to recognize true grit when I see it. Today I saw it in you, in the way you balance your dreams with your duties, in how you carry your burden with grace, and in the love that shows through everything you do for your daughter. Your story reminds me of my own mother. She was a waitress too, working double shifts to keep food on our table while holding on to dreams that seemed impossible. She taught me that the measure of a person isn't in what they have, but in what they're willing to work for. The check enclosed isn't charity, it's an investment in someone who reminds me of the strongest person I've ever known. Use it for Maya's field trip, your tuition, and whatever else you need to keep pushing forward. The world needs more nurses like you're going to be, and more mothers like you already are. Keep going. The hardest part of any journey is believing you deserve to make it. With respect and admiration, Clint Eastwood. Life-changing gesture 250 words. The check lay on the counter between Sarah and Marie, its amount still seeming impossible, $25,000. It was more money than Sarah had ever seen at once, enough to cover her remaining tuition, Maya's school needs, and still have some left over for emergencies. But it was more than just money, it was freedom to breathe, to dream, to stop constantly calculating every penny. The magnitude of the gesture hit her in waves. This wasn't just about paying bills, it was about dignity. Eastwood hadn't just thrown money at her situation, he had seen her, really seen her, and responded with understanding and respect. He had recognized in her story echoes of his own family's struggle, and instead of offering mere sympathy, he had chosen to break the cycle of hardship. Sarah's emotional breakdown, 200 words. The tears came in earnest now, her shoulders shaking with the release of years of pent-up worry and stress. She sank into the nearest booth, her legs no longer able to support her. All the nights she'd lain awake wondering how to make ends meet. All the time she'd had to tell Maya maybe next time. About school activities. All the moments she'd questioned if she was crazy to pursue her dreams, it all came pouring out in a flood of emotion. I can finally do it, she whispered through her tears. I can really do it. The words seemed to unlock something deep inside her, and she began to sob in earnest, years of careful composure crumbling in the face of unexpected grace. Support from co-workers, 200 words. But Marie was the first to wrap her arms around Sarah, her own tears falling freely. You deserve this, honey. You deserve every bit of it. Tony emerged from the kitchen, his usual gruff demeanor softened by emotion. Joe himself came out from his office, something suspiciously like moisture glinting in his eyes. The regular customers, many of whom had watched Sarah's journey for years, spontaneously began to applaud. The sound swelled, filling the diner with a wave of joy and celebration. Even the morning truckers, usually focused solely on their coffee and eggs, joined in the impromptu ovation. First round of coffees on the house today, Joe announced, his voice gruff with emotion. We're celebrating our girl finally getting her break. The declaration was met with more applause, while Sarah remained in the center of it all, surrounded by her work family, overwhelmed by the love and support pouring out from every corner of the humble diner that had become so much more than just a workplace. How the gesture changes Sarah's life. 250 words. 2 years after that fateful morning at Joe's Diner, Sarah Johnson walked across the stage at her nursing school graduation, her white uniform gleaming under the auditorium lights. In the front row, Maya beamed with pride, wearing the same expression her mother had worn at countless school events she could now attend. The young girl held up a hand-drawn sign that read, "My mum's a nurse," decorated with carefully drawn hearts and stethoscopes. The financial breathing room provided by Eastwood's gift had transformed their daily life in countless ways. No more choosing between textbooks and groceries, no more missed field trips or school activities. Sarah could focus on her studies without the constant weight of financial anxiety pressing down on her shoulders. She maintained her job at Joe's, but cut back to part-time hours, allowing her to attend Maya's soccer games and help with homework. Progress toward her dreams, 225 words. Sarah's academic performance soared once she could dedicate more time to her studies. She graduated with honors, earning special recognition for her work in the emergency department during her clinical rotations. Her instructors noted how her experience as a waitress had given her a unique ability to maintain grace under pressure and connect with patients from all walks of life. The local hospital offered her a position in their emergency department before she even graduated. During her interview, she spoke about how serving others had taught her the importance of dignity in healthcare, how every patient, like every customer, deserved to be seen and heard with respect. Ripple effect in the community, 225 words. Sarah's story spread through the community, first as whispers in the diner, then as a feature in the local newspaper. But it wasn't just about the celebrity encounter, it was about hope and possibility. She established a scholarship fund for other service industry workers pursuing medical careers, seeding it with a portion of Eastwood's gift. "Sometimes all people need is for someone to believe in them," she told the reporter who covered the story. "Mr. Eastwood didn't just give me money that day, he gave me permission to believe in myself. Now it's my turn to pass that belief on to others." At Joe's Diner, her story became legend. The booth where Eastwood sat became known as the Dream Booth, and Sarah's example inspired others to pursue their own aspirations. Marie went back to school for her business degree. Tony's daughter enrolled in culinary school. The diner became more than just a restaurant, it became a place where dreams took flight. Larger message about kindness and hope, 200 words. Every year on the anniversary of that day, Sarah returns to Joe's Diner for breakfast. She sits in booth 4, orders the Western omelette, and leaves a generous tip along with a note of encouragement for whoever is working that shift. The note in her hospital office, now framed alongside her nursing degree, serves as a daily reminder that angels can appear in unexpected places, sometimes wearing cowboy hats. Her story resonates because it's about more than just one act of kindness, it's about the ripple effect that compassion creates. It's about how believing in someone's dreams can give them the courage to believe in themselves. It's about the power of community, the dignity of hard work, and the transformative impact of seeing someone struggle and choosing to help. In a world that often seems cold and indifferent, Sarah's story stands as a testament to the enduring power of human kindness and the truth that sometimes the smallest gestures can create the biggest changes. It reminds us that we all have the power to be someone else's miracle, to be the person who helps turn their someday into today,